welcome to this week's episode of Mad Science! We are in our kitchen today because we are doing an experiment this week with apples. So we're going to show you the materials that you will need if you want to do this with us, but you actually are going to have some options with this video. So let's show them what we have, girls. Let's see. We have an apple, a cutting board or cutting mat, a nice sharp knife for a grown-up to use, 4 bowls. You can use cups, just something that's about the same size. And then you're gonna need 3 liquids. So we're going to use vinegar, water, and lemon juice. You don't have to use the same 3 liquids as us. You can use different liquids if you prefer, but that's what we're gonna use. So if you wanna do it with us, gather up your materials and then meet us back here. So the first thing you need to do for your experiment will be for a grown-up. So you'll need to cut your apple into 4 slices. We're gonna cut our apple into 4 slices. So we're gonna cut it in half and then cut each half in half. So we'll have 4 pieces of our apple. And then we're just gonna cut the part with the seeds out. So have your adult do this for you, okay? So we're gonna cut these just like that. So you'll end up with 4 pieces of apple that look like this. You can use any kind of apple you want. I am using Gala apples for this, just because that's what I had in my refrigerator. So we're just cutting it into 4 slices and then cutting off the seeds. I know that you guys are expert Kinder scientists, and you know that the part in the middle of the apple where the seeds are is called the core, because we learned that. So once you have your 4 apple slices, you are going to get your bowls. So you should have 4 bowls, and one of these apple slices is going to be called the control piece. That means we're not going to do anything to it. So when you do a science experiment and you want to see what happens when you add something or take something away from an object, you always want to have one that you don't change. That's your control. So that way you can really see, okay, what's the difference in what I added or what I took away. So one of our bowls is going to have 1 piece of our apple and nothing else, just some air, okay? Then you're going to have another bowl that you're going to put a different sort of liquid into. So I am going to pour some water in this bowl. And then I'm just going to put my apple in the water. Then I'm going to set that one to the side. And now in this bowl, I'm going to pour some vinegar. That's my 3rd substance that I'm adding. So I'm just going to pour some vinegar in this bowl. And I'm gonna put another piece of my apple in the vinegar bowl, set that aside. Then I'm gonna get my 4th bowl, and I decided I was going to use lemon juice. You don't have to use fresh lemon juice, you could just use this kind. You could also get lime juice, whatever you wanna put in there. I've seen some places, or some people have used oil. Some people have used milk. I didn't want to use milk because these are going to be sitting out like on my counter for a while. And so I felt like the milk would get kind of yucky if I did that. So I was trying to think of things that could sit out for a while that wouldn't get too yucky. So I'm going to put some lemon juice in my bowl, and then my last piece of apple I'm going to put in there. And I'm kind of letting it roll around in the lemon juice so it's really getting coated, right? We're going to do the same thing for our other apples. Make sure they get nice and coated in the vinegar bowl. Roll it around in there. And in the water, I want to make sure it gets nice and coated. I don't want to get any vinegar in there, so I'm using different fingers. And then this one's pretty coated with air. I think it's probably good. All right. So once you have all that set up, you're going to get the papers from your materials packet that look like this. So you'll find these papers in your materials packet, or this is also on Seesaw. So you can do it on Seesaw as well. So join me back in 1 second and I'll show you how we're gonna do this. The first paper that you will have that you can fill out, or you can do it on Seesaw, looks like this. So this is our apple rotting experiment. So we're going to use this as our first observation sheet. So I'm gonna put on the top of my sheet the date if I want to, or I can just put first day, whatever you wanna put. So I think I will just write first day. First day. So this is the day that I'm setting up my experiment. In this box right here, I'm going to observe and draw a picture of what my apple looks like. So I want to draw a picture of what my control apple looks like. So what this apple slice looks like before I did anything to it. So I can see that it's kind of red and yellow on the outside. It's kind of speckly. And the inside of my apple is still nice in that really, really light yellow. And I took the seeds out so it doesn't have any seeds. So it's still pretty firm, not squishy. So I'm gonna draw a picture of this apple right here in this box. So I'm going to start with a red marker. Let's see here. This looks like a good red marker. So I'm gonna draw a picture of my apple, and I'm gonna use a red marker as the outside of my apple. And I'm just gonna make that just a little thicker just so I can see that it's nice and red and pretty. There we go. And then I'm going to draw the inside of my apple. So I think I'm gonna use a different marker just to outline it, just so that I have a nice, easy outline. You don't have to do it that way, but you can. And so mine was basically pretty flat across the top, right? Didn't have a whole lot going on. So I've got just a red apple skin, and now I'm gonna color in the inside of this nice, really pale yellow center of my apple. So I'm just gonna color that in. Perfect, there we go. So now I can see that at the beginning of my experiment, my apples looked like a normal apple slice. It had a nice red color on the skin. It was nice and light yellow on the inside. I didn't draw any seeds because I cut those out, and it stayed pretty flat. So my picture should look pretty similar to my actual apple, right? Perfect. So now the next part says to see, touch, and smell the apple. What do you notice? Well, I notice that my apple is pretty hard. So I might write that it's hard. That's what I'm feeling when I touch my apple. So I'm gonna use my very best spelling and go, I know that starts with an H. Hard, hard. So my apple is hard. Let's see, what color is my apple? My apple is yellow. So yellow. So it's yellow on the inside. It's red on the outside. So I'll write red. So it's red on the outside. Let's take a smell. Oh, it smells sweet. I hear two sounds, S and W. Sweet. Yeah, it smells sweet. And let's see, it feels kind of wet. I'm getting some of the juice from the apple on my fingers while I touch it. So I'll write that it's wet. 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 So those are just the things that I observed, the things that I noticed about my apple. When I looked at it, I could see that it was yellow on the inside and red on the outside. Now, this isn't exactly how you spell yellow, but I was doing my very best to hear the sounds, and I heard a Y-L-O, yellow. So actually yellow is spelled Y-E-L-L-O-W. So I looked and I saw it was yellow on the inside and it was red on the outside. And when I touched my apple, I could tell that it was hard. It wasn't squishy, so it was kind of hard. And it was kind of wet. It was getting my fingers wet with apple juice. And then when I smelled the apple, I noticed that it smelled nice and sweet, which is how an apple should smell. So we know what our apple looks like. We have a picture of what our beginning apple looks like, just in case our brains forget as we're observing. We have some words that tell us what our apple looked like and smelled like and felt like. So now we're gonna write down what we put in the container with our apple. So the first container that I remember I told you was the control. The control is the one we're not gonna do anything to it. So it just has air in it. So I've already got that one filled out for you. You don't have to do that one. In my second container, my container number 2, I put another liquid. Let me smell to see if it's water or vinegar. That one's water. So in my second container, I have my apple slice and some water. So I am going to write water on number 2. Water. Water. Then on my third container, that's this one, I put lemon juice. Lemon juice. So I'm gonna write lemon juice for number 3. Lemon juice. 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 Lemon juice. And in my fourth bowl, I put vinegar. Woo. So I'm gonna write vinegar for my fourth bowl. And notice how I'm just listening to the sound so I can spell it out as best I can. Vinegar. Vinegar. So I have air in my first bowl because that's my control. I have water in my second bowl. Now, did I spell water correctly? No, I was so close though. So that's okay. My mom or my dad or my adult helper can help me spell it right because I was just sounding it out. So water is W-A-T-E-R. I was pretty close. I had W-O-T-R. So I was hearing lots of sounds. All right, my third bowl has lemon juice. Lemon juice. Pretty close again. L-E-M-O-N. And juice is a funny word. It is spelled J-U-I-C-E. Now, if I'm a kindergartner, I definitely don't hear all those sounds in juice. As a grown-up, I don't hear all those sounds in juice. So it's just a funny word that we just have to learn how to spell. That's okay. And then in my last bowl, I had vinegar. Vinegar. Vinegar is V-I-N-E-G-A-R. Vinegar. All right, so I've drawn a picture of my apple. I've written down what I observed about my apple. I wrote what is in all 4 of the bowls of my apple. My last step is to make a scientific prediction. When scientists are testing something, they make a prediction about what they think is going to happen with what they're testing. So the first question says, which apple will rot the most? Rot. What does rot mean? I think rot means that the apple will kind of go bad. We've all seen where maybe we have bananas in our house and they sat a little too long and they got really brown on the outside and squishy. That's rotting. That's part of what happens to food when we leave it out and it's not supposed to be out. So, which one do I think will get yucky the fastest is what that's asking. Which apple will rot the most? I predict that the one that's just in the air will rot the most because, I don't know, I think that maybe the one that will rot the fastest will be the one that's in the air. So I'm just going to put an X in that box. Or you might want to color it in, or you might want to circle it. You can mark it however you want. My other prediction question is going to be the opposite. So not which one will get yucky faster, but which one will stay good looking for the longest amount of time. So it says, which apple will stay the freshest? So which apple will stay the freshest? Which one will look the best for the longest amount of time? I predict that perhaps the one in the water will stay the freshest. So I know that my number two bowl is the one that has the water. So I'm gonna mark number 2 because that's my prediction. Your prediction might be a different one and that's okay. We're all scientists and we're all making predictions and we're all gonna learn together. So I X or I color or I circle it or whatever I wanna do. So this sheet is the beginning of my experiment. So now what I'm gonna do is leave my apples to sit for a few days. So if I do this on a Monday, I might wait and I might skip Tuesday and then come on Wednesday to look at these apples again. So maybe every other day or so I might come in and look at my apples and then I'll have one of these sheets for each of those days. So I want you to observe your apples about 3 times and try to keep a day in between when you observe. So if you observe on a Monday, come back on Wednesday and then on Friday. So that way you skip a day in between. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, on each time I observe, I'm gonna draw a picture of what my apple looks like now. So I would draw a new picture of the apple that's in the control. I would draw a new picture of the apple that's in water in the number 2 box. In the number 3 box, I would draw a new picture of the apple in lemon juice. And in the number 4 box, I would draw a new picture of the apple in vinegar. And then it has questions at the bottom. Which apple is the most rotten? Ugh. So which one of those 4 apples looks the yuckiest the first time I observe it? And then which apple is the most fresh? Which one still looks pretty yummy? Which one looks the most yummy? That's what I'm gonna mark for those 2 questions. And I'm gonna do that 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. So I'll have 3 of this sheet and 1 of this sheet. But I can also do it in Seesaw if I want to do it on my computer or my tablet. So I hope that you guys will keep track of your apple experiment, and I am so excited to see what you find out and what you write on your papers. Okay guys, I'm super excited to see how your apple experiments turn out. And remember, you don't have to use the same liquids that I used. So I left those spots blank on your paper so you can choose whatever liquids you want. You might choose to put it in some vegetable oil or some olive oil. You could put it in milk. You could put it in, somebody else I saw use milk of magnesia, which is like tummy medicine. You could put it in juice. You could put it in soda. There's all kinds of liquids that you could use. So whatever you use, just write it down and we can see it, and maybe we'll be able to share some of these together and see how these different things affect our apples. And maybe we'll learn something about how to keep our apples fresh for a little longer. So I'm excited to do this experiment with you guys. I can't wait to see what you come up with. And join me next week for more Mad Science. Bye, guys.